At 27, he almost gave up, and it turned out to be the best decision of his life. It was his third attempt. The message appeared on the screen again. Your campaign did not reach its goal. 0 results. He wasn't angry. He wasn't nervous. He just sat there, staring at that line as if it were a verdict. And for the first time he thought, maybe this is a sign to stop. Marco had always been called promising. That's what people said about him in school. It's what professors repeated in college. It's what showed up in his recommendation letters. You have a bright future. He heard it so often that he eventually started to believe it himself. There was just one problem. The future never seemed to arrive. At 27, Marco was sitting in a small rented apartment with a laptop that froze more often than it worked. He had already launched his project 3 times, and each time it ended the same way. First came hope, then silence, and then a short, dry message on the screen. He usually knew what it would say before he even read it. He would just sit there, staring at that line, as if it wasn't just text, but proof of what he had quietly feared all along. That evening, he opened LinkedIn. Proud to announce, excited to share, grateful for this opportunity. The feed kept scrolling. Friends were buying apartments, getting married, opening offices, posting photos from conferences, smiling next to banners with their names on them. Marco closed the tab. And for the first time, he allowed himself to think what he had been afraid to put into words. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'm just not built for this. That night, he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. No tears, no drama, just emptiness. It didn't even hurt. That was the strange part. The feeling that something would eventually work out was simply gone. And somehow, that was the scariest part of all. The next day, he went to the park. No plan, no goal. Just to avoid sitting at home. An older man was sitting on a bench feeding pigeons. A worn-out suitcase stood beside him. Marco ended up sitting down next to him. "Are you traveling?" he asked, just to break the silence. The man smiled. "No, I'm moving." "Where to?" "I don't know." Marco looked at him, confused. "What do you mean you don't know?" The man shrugged. "I lived in the same city for 40 years. I lost my job. My wife passed away. My kids live far away. And at some point, I realized that if I've already lost everything, there's nothing left to be afraid of." Marco stayed quiet for a moment. "Aren't you afraid to start over?" he asked softly. "I've started over before," the man replied. "At 25, and again at 40. It's only scary for the first few days. After that, what's left is freedom." Freedom? Yes, the greatest freedom doesn't come when you win. It comes when you stop being afraid to lose. It didn't sound like a motivational quote. It sounded like a simple, steady truth. Marco went back home and opened his old project. He looked at the mistakes, the poor decisions, the naive expectations, and for the first time he didn't feel ashamed. He thought, what if I've already lost? What if there's nothing left for me to lose? Something shifted. He stopped trying to look successful. He stopped writing in a way that would impress investors. He stopped comparing himself to his friends. Instead, he started doing it his way. Small steps, slowly, without expectations. For the first 2 months, nothing changed. No one wrote, no one called, and the old fear came back. "See, you're just dragging this out." But this time, he didn't panic. He kept going. 6 months later, one client reached out. Then another. Then someone recommended him to a friend. It wasn't explosive success. There were no millions, no viral posts. But something had changed. There was calm. 2 years later, his business was bringing in steady income. Not extraordinary, but enough. One evening, he found himself sitting in the same park again. The bench was gone, and he never saw the man with the suitcase again. But he remembered the words, Freedom begins when you stop being afraid to lose. Maybe right now you feel like you've lost. Maybe you look at others and think you're already behind. Maybe you've tried 3 times and don't want to try again. But what if your failure isn't the end? What if this is the moment when you finally get to build something that's truly yours? Because sometimes we don't win when we reach the top. Sometimes we win when we stop living in fear. And that's when things begin to grow.